Good morning and welcome back to God's Club for this Sunday, August 2nd, 2020. First of all, a little technological issue here. You're going to see me as I'm recording this looking off to my side a little bit because my printer ran out of ink. So I couldn't print my lesson the way I typically do, and I usually kind of post it up here so that while I'm recording, I don't look like I'm looking side to side. But I'm having to actually look at my computer screen today while I'm recording. So sometimes we just have to learn to adapt and make do because it is 2020. So my name is Trish Johnson, and I'm the Director of Family Ministries at First United Methodist Church of Michigan City. If this is your first time joining us, God's Club is typically our Sunday school program for kids of all ages. It's a one-room Sunday school program that typically would be in a classroom in our building in between our 8:30 and 10:30 worship services. But because we're still working to keep everybody safe, God's Club is continuing to come to you remotely right here on Facebook. You can also follow the link to watch the lessons anytime you'd like to on my YouTube channel. So welcome. This morning, we're going to talk about this saying that you've probably heard, but it was really popular way back in the 1990s, like a million years ago when I was a teenager. It was a really popular slogan. It was on t-shirts and it was on bracelets and there were songs, and it was really simple. It was just this. It said, "What would Jesus do?" And it might seem silly or sound silly to those of us that heard it a lot back in the old days. But the truth is that it's a question that we as Christians are supposed to ask ourselves. So I want to talk about this shirt that I'm wearing. It's brand new and I love it so much. So I know it might be kind of hard to see for you to see the whole thing. So let me tell you what it says. It says, "Resisting evil, injustice, and oppression in whatever forms they present themselves." Do those words sound familiar to anybody? These words are taken straight from the baptismal covenant that we make as United Methodists. But what does that mean? What does the word covenant mean? Did you know that the word covenant means promise? So we're making a promise as followers of Jesus to resist evil and injustice in any form we find it, like Jesus would do. Did you know that Jesus was on a trip this one time? He was traveling with his disciples, and he purposely chose a path that would take them through Samaria. The thing is that Jews didn't usually travel through Samaria. He did it because he knew that the Samaritan people were treated badly, and he wanted the chance to talk to them and meet them and let them know that he was different, that he loved everybody equally. Did you know that in the story of the woman at the well in John 4, Jesus surprises the woman at the well by asking her for a drink? Why did that surprise her? Let's look at the story in our World Bible, and find out. So this story comes from the New Testament, the book of John, chapter 4, verses 5 through 42. The woman at the well. It says, "Jesus kicked the dust from his sandals. He plopped down on the edge of a well in Samaria. A Samaritan woman lowered her bucket down into the well. Then she pulled it up, filled with water. She poured the water into a jar. Jesus was shielding his eyes from the hot sun. 'Could you please give me a drink?' he said to the woman. The woman jumped and gasped in surprise. Jewish people didn't talk to Samaritans. Jewish people didn't even like Samaritans. Why would you ask me for a drink of water? She asked. I'm a Samaritan. Well, it's very hot, and I've walked a long way. I'm thirsty, Jesus replied. Jesus touched the jar full of water. This water is good for the body, but I can give you living water. Water that will fill you up with God's love, and you will never be thirsty again. But you don't even have a bucket, said the woman. How are you going to do that? I am the living water, Jesus said. Jesus then told the woman that he knew all about her. He told her details that she didn't expect a stranger to know. I don't understand how you know these things, she said, but I do know the Messiah is coming. That's me, Jesus exclaimed. I am the Messiah. The woman's eyes grew wide with amazement. She raced to tell her people in the town. Running through the streets, she said, "Come and see. Come meet Jesus." And many people followed the woman to meet Jesus. So the woman at the well was surprised because Jews weren't usually kind to Samaritans, and men weren't usually kind to women either. Does that seem fair? When something is unfair, that's unjust. Injustice means not fair. Jesus set an example for us by being just and fair to all of God's people. This is only one example of many in the New Testament where Jesus shows us that nothing is more important than loving other people. At the end of the story, the woman runs and shares the good news of Jesus' love with all of her friends and family. That's exactly how the love of Jesus works. When we share it, it keeps getting shared. So when you see that something is unfair, something's happening that you think doesn't seem fair, you should ask yourself, what would Jesus do? And the answer will always be that he would show his love. How can you resist evil and injustice? What about when you see someone being bullied or someone being unkind to another person at school or the park in your neighborhood? Or when you hear something on the news about people being unkind or people hurting other people? What can you do? Well, sometimes when you ask yourself what Jesus would do, you might find that you can step in and help the person who's being hurt or bullied. If it's safe to speak up and say, hey, that isn't nice, and I don't like that you're making my friend feel bad, then that's exactly what you can do. But sometimes you need to ask an adult for help. Sometimes that's the right thing to do. When you ask yourself, what would Jesus do? You will know that you can always show love, and you can always pray. Dear Jesus, please help me be the person who stands up for others when they need a helper. Help me to remember that my job as your follower is to show love and kindness to everyone, even when it's hard sometimes. Help me to know how I can resist bad things and unfairness around me, because that is my promise to you, Jesus. Amen. Have a wonderful, peace-filled week, and I hope to see you right back here again next week. Bye-bye.